Hello everyone, my name is Dennis Clare. I'm the co-director of the Transition Employment and Technology Laboratory at The Ohio State University. I'm an assistant professor in the Division of Occupational Therapy. I'm here today to talk to you about vocfit.com. We're really happy to have been partners with Project Search in developing this tool, which we think can help improve employment outcomes. And isn't that all why we're here? So learning objectives for this presentation are just to give you a little bit of information about the development of the tool and the logic we use to determine positive matches. Go to vocfit.com and look at the website and develop a systematic job matching report, and also to discuss how vocfit can be used within your project search program to help encourage and improve employment outcomes. So just 12 seconds about us at Ohio State. We have a project search post-secondary program. And so we were asked about 7 or 8 years ago to help improve internships and internship matching processes. So we developed task analyses and really looked at the process that we use to match interns to jobs. And we all know that there is a cost when we have a bad match for internships, both for the intern but also for our employer and their willingness on occasion to support future interns that we produce. So this has been about 8 or 9 years in the making, and we're really happy with the product that I'm going to show you today. So just a little bit about us. We are valid and reliable. We have 4 publications with a few more that are going to be coming out here in the next 6 months or so. So this tool does provide a system to help you with your internship matching processes and then eventually your job matching processes. It was developed to use with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. You are welcome, and people have used this for folks without intellectual and developmental disabilities. You just can't say that it's valid and reliable. So before us, what we had were 2 different types of assessments. I'm an occupational therapist, so we had a work-oriented assessment talking about job requirements and frequency that a task needs to be performed. And so these come really from an HR standpoint. Or from an ergonomic standpoint. And those are all important and can be really useful in terms of developing task analyses, but oftentimes don't give us enough detail. The other types of assessments that we used as an occupational therapist, or you as a teacher or as a skills developer, skills trainer, we do assessments on individuals. The problem is that these assessments don't talk to each other. So we had sort of an HR task analysis job description, and then we had these assessments of individuals' strengths and skills, and they didn't talk to each other. So our goal was to find out a way that we could use the same information to assess a worker that we use to assess a job, or in the project search case, the same information that we would use to assess an intern that we would use to assess an internship. So when you look at the job matching literature, everyone says how important the job match is, and that makes sense, right? That we would make a really good job match so someone can be successful in an internship and long-term in a job. But there really wasn't great information about how you did that. So we always determined or decided that this really was a black box, and so our job was to fill this black box. So for us, we're a research institution, so we like systems, we like data, and we like analytics. So our goal is really to fill that black box and so that we can make transparent decisions about where we're going to be placing interns and employees. Our long-term goal in the lab is to improve employment outcomes through the systematic assessment and intervention techniques. So the basis of the VFA, just so you know that why we can say it's valid and reliable, it comes from the National Longitudinal Transition Study, which followed individuals with IEPs to see where they ended up working. The NLTS2 study in particular used ONET job codes and allowed us to look back and see where folks were working, the types of jobs that they had, and the skills that they needed to do those jobs. So in our lab, we've conducted to this point thousands of task analyses, so we've used that data in order to again, tell you that this is valid and reliable. So for us, you're probably familiar with the U.S. Department of Labor, some of their information that they had. So we looked at categories of jobs where people with disabilities typically are working. For NLTS2, it had this ONET job code. So we were able to go back, see where people with disabilities were working, and compare that from ONET to really look at what the tasks and work contexts that they needed to be able to perform were. So from that, we went to ONET. I'm sure you're also very familiar with ONET. And we looked at, again, that job code, what tasks were required, and what were the work context in which they used those tasks. So for us, for this particular retail sales job, you can see that there's probably about 35 tasks that this person has to perform. And then in terms of work context, about 45 to 50 other items that they had to do. So what we did is we went to NLTS2, pulled the information for where individuals worked, both for tasks and work context, and we harvested that information and created a massive, massive task analysis that had over 3,000 items. So we had a group of 8 occupational therapy grad students who volunteered their time to conduct task analyses on work sites using these 3,000 items. So from that, we then went to another larger group of occupational therapy students using the same process. They then completed task analyses. We were able to eliminate about 2,000 of those items. So we were able to get it down to about 1,000 items of the task analyses. Now, I don't think anyone in this room really wants to do 1,000 item task analyses. So at that point, we were able to get it down to about 125 items or so. So the vocational fit assessment is about 125 items. There's 108 core items, and then other items that we're testing to see whether or not that's going to work or not. The nice thing about the way that we've set our system up is that as Project Search grows and changes, as the American economy grows and changes, whenever you fill out a VFA about an internship or a job, there's a question that asks you what are essential tasks that are not reflected in the VFA currently, which allows us then once a year to go and see if there are items that we need to add. So we can continually adapt this tool, because if we think of the American economy from 20 years ago, many of the jobs that we have now didn't exist then. So we have to be able to grow as the economy grows and changes, and as Project Search grows and changes. So at this point, we're saying that the VFA takes around 30 to 45 minutes to fill out. That being said, we have seen people fill it out in less than 12 minutes. So the more you use it, the easier it's going to be for you to fill this information out. So again, we're trying to fill that black box to make everything as clear as possible. So this is what our process basically is. We, again, have this 125 different items that we use to assess the individual, and we use it to assess the worker. 3 different pieces of this. We have an instructional prompt: to what degree does the worker demonstrate for the worker? And then for the job, to what degree does the job demand? The common item stem: the ability to communicate face-to-face with other people. So again, our unique approach is that we're using the same language to assess a worker that we use to assess a job. And again, there's 125 of these common item stems. And then we have a customized rating scale. For the worker, do they have high ability to communicate face-to-face with other people, some ability, or low ability? For the job, is there a high demand to communicate face-to-face with other people? High demand, some demand, or low demand? So then what does that look like, and how do you score? We actually have really good information that shows that people use this algorithm very accurately in terms of an assessment. So you can feel pretty good about this algorithm. So for the person's ability, they have high ability if they can perform that task independently. They have low ability if they're unable or otherwise dependent on others to complete this task. And then there's a sum that they can perform that task, but they require additional support. For the job, the demands of the job are high if the task is essential to the performance of that job. So they're doing that on an ongoing basis, and you really can't carve that piece out of the job and still consider that they're doing that job. There's also a low demand, so the task is irrelevant and non-essential. So for example, if you're in Florida and one of the items is that you want to work outside in cold temperatures or can work outside in cold temperatures, if there's a low demand for that, it can fall out. And we don't end up scoring that against a person. So what does this look like in real life? So let's look at standing, which is one of the items on the assessment. So we would say the worker has high ability to stand if they can stand independently for as long as they need. We would say they have low ability if they're not able to stand for more than a few moments. Say, for example, they can help with transfers. If they can stand but need to take frequent breaks, then we would say that they have some ability. And you want to judge the person's actual ability, not necessarily their ability with accommodations. And we'll talk about that as I show you the job matching report. So the VFA has 11 subscales. So hopefully you also have a PDF that looks something like this on the right that's actually going to list all the items on the vocational fit assessment for you. So the subscales are divided so that each one has between 10 and 20 items, so that way we can start to group people's strengths and then the supports that they'll need to have, which helps us as we're developing interventions. So how does this work? When we're assessing an individual, this is actually a web app, so you don't need to download an application. You just need to have access to the internet, or to the internet. So as long as you can access the internet, you can use it on a phone, a tablet, or a laptop. So let's say that the worker has low ability to communicate face-to-face with other people. We give them a score. It goes to the cloud, and we begin to build this worker profile. And of course, at Ohio State, we have to use Brutus. So you also then can go and assess the internships that you have access to. So let's say that the requirement is that you have to have some demand to communicate face-to-face with other people. We go to the cloud, and then we begin to build these jobs for ourselves, or internships for ourselves, that we can then use to match against that individual. So how do we give you this information? Basically, we have information that is comparing workers to jobs or interns to internships. So let's say that the ability of the intern or the worker is high for communicating face-to-face with other people, and the demand of the job is high. Do we think that that's a good thing or a bad thing? We think that's a good thing, that that's a positive match. We actually have data that shows that as well. But on the other hand, let's say that the ability of the worker is low, but the demand of the job is high. So we'd say that's a con. So we know that people can learn and grow, and we can even figure out accommodations for folks. But in terms of actually making these matching initial decisions, we're going to score that as a con. There are other iterations for that. So if a worker has some ability and the job has some demand, that's going to score in the yellow, and there's others in terms of lows, sums, and highs, and how we mix that. Again, an important thing is that if the demand of the job is low, that actually is going to fall out of our algorithm. So that way it doesn't count against someone that doesn't have a skill, but doesn't need the skill for that particular internship or job. So we think this is a really important thing to have available at your employment planning meeting, because it gets everybody on the same page and really helps to be transparent about the decisions you're making and why you're making the decisions that you are. So just want to show you very quickly some information about the website. So first of all, when you log in, it actually takes you to a whole separate website that is separate from vocfit.com, but it looks fairly similar. It says app.vocfit.com. Other things is that we always have 4 to 5 hours of technical support available each week. It does change semester by semester depending when our grad students are in classes. So we'd encourage you to go to vocfit.com if you have questions. We have an email that's available, which is admin@vocfit.com. There also are some support videos that can help you with that. So one other thing, we do have a video library that's available that has short 60 to 90 second clips from different Project Search and other internship sites that you can have your folks go and look at to see different types of jobs. It's a great opportunity for you for job development, especially as you're moving forward after graduation to employment. So within that video library, we use the ONET industry classifications. So we've combined those a little bit just to make the website a little easier to navigate. We have about 25 videos that are on there, and we're hoping to continue to grow that. We also have something called the Discovery Job Bank, and we're going to be showing you that here as we move to the website. So we're going to go to the website in a second, but just to show you the full repertoire of what's actually on the website, if you're looking to use vocfit.com as part of Discovery, so if some of you that are out there from special education and maybe are affiliated with Project Search, you're welcome to use this website as well. So there's an intern video library that's there and a Discovery Job Bank that comes with preloaded jobs that we've already done for you. Our strong recommendation would be that you would assess the jobs for your individual Project Search site instead of using those. We have the intern job bank, or Discovery Job Bank is there really as a discovery process or to help you as you're looking at job placement. You can also use it to help develop IEP plans, so it's a great age-appropriate assessment. Some Project Search sites are starting to use this, and they're having high school teachers fill out the vocfit so that they understand the types of students who are going to be coming with them. Number 4, and this is the original intent of it, is really to help match interns to internship sites, and also to develop interventions to support interns. There's a great change over time report that we'll show you on the website, and it can also really help you to inform the curricular decisions in the classroom. So we meet with Project Search in the summer to really look at what are those top jobs that are being used across different Project Search programs, and what are the types of skills that people need to do those jobs. Again, it's really useful in job development after graduation and can help to design customization and intervention for individuals as they're looking at their careers and jobs after they graduate from Project Search. So again, just really happy to partner with Project Search with vocfit, and you are an incredibly creative bunch and have found uses for the tool that we really had no intention of doing. So, but we're always happy to support you as best we can. So if you have questions, feel free to email me or Indy Persh, and we're happy to help in any way that we can. So 2 things. So again, this is vocfit.com. So if you can see, there's the login video library. So if you click on that, there are, so if you click on any of these, audiovisual technology, it's going to take you to 1 or 2 videos within each of those areas. Some have more videos than that are just kind of a 60 to 90 second video that'll tell you information about those particular types of jobs. On the support, there are 2 videos, and you're welcome to go there and check those out as well. All right, so we're now going to log in. So we've logged in, and I'm already logged in here. I'm going to take you to the Discovery Job Bank. So this is something that I'm just going to, so we can manage workers, manage jobs. So I'm going to go to Manage Workers. And so from this site, you can go here and add a worker if you'd like. So you can go in and name the worker, birth. You need to have some very basic demographic information. Our recommendation is actually to put, to make codes that we don't have access to, that you have access to, so that you're not having to worry about data management within your organization in terms of sharing FERPA information with us. Okay, so we are now within this organization of the Discovery Job Bank, and Susie, we're redoing those photos as we speak, so there'll be more work-oriented and less basketball-oriented. I'm going to go to this one particular student, and so there are lots of different things that we can do. So this particular student, example 5, who requires an extensive level of support, we can send a VFA worker request. What does that mean? So you could send that worker request to, so if you are the teacher that's kind of the administrator of this, you could send it to a parent. You could send it to a teacher from the year before to assess them. You could send it to anyone else that you would like to, and they can assess that individual for you. You would put their email and then some basic instructions on that. We also have a video created that you can send along with that as well to explain what that is. So you can also go ahead and complete the VFA worker now. So what that means is you would go in and go ahead and assess that individual that you're working with. You can also download the blank VFA worker PDF. So you can go ahead and do that. So if you work with a family member that isn't comfortable with computers, then you can have them fill that out. It's 13 pages, and someone would actually then need to fill that in so that it can be within our database. Some cool things, though, that you can do. First is this ability over time report. So this particular person was evaluated initially on November 17th, and then I put in some fake data on April 25th. And what this does is then you run that report. So these are the, you can see these are the 11 different areas that we're looking at. So basically for all of those items within physical ability, self-determination, general safety, that matches to a color down here. And again, this is somebody that required extensive support at the beginning, and then at the end, they've made great progress. So it's a really nice report that we can show where they were at the beginning and now where they are at the end. And so this is a vast difference because I created this data on April 25th. So it's probably a little bit more severe of the start and the finish than we would typically see. But I did that just so that we can show you what that report's going to look like. So that ability over time report, you can compare to whoever you would like. So if you have maybe your project search intern might either overestimate or underestimate their opinion of themselves. So you can fill that assessment out yourself, and then you can have them fill it out, and you can compare that. So it's kind of a nice thing that you can do. So I'm going to show you now what job matching reports look like. So I'm going to select which one that you were going to fill out. So I'm actually going to fill out the November 17th by Christina case and go with that assessment because I know that's actually accurate data instead of the stuff that I made up. So what it's now doing is it's comparing those 125 items of that assessment that we filled out, and then we're also going to compare that 125 items for the individual that Christina filled out in November of last year to all of the VFA-Js, so the task analyses that we've done on the various jobs. So from this, there's about 15 that are in here right now. So let's say that we've talked to this individual and they really want to work somewhere inside and they want to work with people. So an usher does that. Hotel front desk clerk does that. Landscaping workers outside, personal care, they don't like being around people who are sick, so they're not going to do that. Bank teller, yes. Occupational therapy aide is a great job, but they don't want to be around sick people. Retail sales, we can do that. Teacher assistant, kids are sick all the time, so we don't want to do that. Dishwasher, sure. Warehouse worker, sure. And again, we're just making decisions on what we want to do here. Carpenter assistant, they are very sensitive to splinters, so no. Janitor, no. Administrative assistant, yes. Maintenance and repair worker, yes. Food science technician, no. They don't like to cook. Veterinary assistant and laboratory animal caretaker, yes. So now we're going to generate the JMR. And so what it's doing now is just compiling those. So this is what the JMR looks like for this particular individual on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different jobs. So you'll notice that some of these bars are longer than others. So the bars that are longer because, again, if there are items on the job that have low demand, they fall out. So there were more items on the usher job that fell out than the items for this veterinary assistant and laboratory animal caretaker. So what would you like to see? So this is a graph, and colors are pretty, and we like colors, right? But this actually gives you a ton of information just as you visualize it in terms of how successful they are at matching different areas. Is there anything else you'd like to see? Sure, you'd like numbers, wouldn't you? So there are 21 pros, 3 strengths, 23 areas for intervention. So that's the sum and the sum. Pro is high ability, high demand. 10 cons. So cons means that there's low ability and high demand. So, and then you can go through and you can look at numbers for any of those things. There's also, I like the fingerprint. We can also show you the items if you like pie graphs. I like pie, but these pie graphs don't do as much for me. So I usually just stick around the vocational fingerprint. So we could, though, click on Usher. And we're going to click on Usher. So the nice thing is that it shows you the pros, but then also shows you what all that other information is. So some things that might be really useful to you. So look at the needs and then the cons. So for example, for this particular individual, I assume that they cannot stand. You can do two things. You can first and foremost make sure that you filled out the assessment right, because there are going to be times when you yinged instead of yanged. But then you can also look at this and start thinking about ways that we can teach someone to do these skills or possibly accommodate for some of those skills. So with that wheelchair user, for example, and this is an usher job, so it says that that standing is required, but we know that we can accommodate for that wheelchair user pretty easily, right? So, but determining customers' needs, determining work activities. So these are things that you can start to build your interventions around. So it sounds like hand washing, personal hygiene, that there's some hygiene issues that we need to help support this person in. So those are things that we can build interventions around. And so other areas that we can focus on, again, lots of areas that we can help develop IEPs around and develop interventions around. The cool thing about this potentially is as we're meeting with that employer towards the end, as they're getting ready to graduate, and we have that job coaching for a finite amount of time, is we can really focus on these things that we need to help someone focus on and develop those skills. So that is vocfit.com. If everything goes right, I should be joining you here in a moment via the interweb to answer any questions that you have live and in person. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Andy Pershin. We'll be happy to answer those for you. Thanks so much, and I hope you have a great day.